Stormborn by Black K. Capt. Chapter 15, Second Movement. Reminiscence. Rubato. An important characteristic of the Romantic period. It is a style where the strict tempo is usually abandoned for a more emotional tone. Sasuke may not be the particular brand of genius that created a new style of clone at the age of 12, but he is at least above average with shadow clones. It's easy enough to leave a Bunshin with Naruto, who is already being stalked by a whole Anbu squad and likely won't notice one more body among the press, or will dismiss it if he does, and split off, heading deeper into the village. He's reeling, but at the same time he's not. In fact, a good portion of him is steadier than he has been in nearly 7 years. Over, he thinks. My search is over. And for all that he's never wavered in his resolve, it's still absolutely astonishing that he succeeded. That he found Naruto. Or, well, that Naruto has come back entirely of his own volition and with no influence from Sasuke at all, no matter how much that stings. But it's all the same in the end, right? It's fine. It doesn't matter. There's no reason to think about that, and 1,001 reasons to think about why. Why Naruto has chosen to come back this way, secret and surreptitious and hidden from absolutely everyone, when the bright 11-year-old who left was so very ready to declare himself, ready to do whatever it took for the recognition that should have been his by virtue of human, let alone a Konoha shinobi. And yes, Sasuke can still find it in himself to be bitter about that, because he remembers his father, remembers Itachi, who was the epitome of the perfect Uchiha, the perfect brother. And Sasuke, no matter how smart or skilled or advanced for his age, was never anywhere close to good enough. Never good enough to rival him, or earn their father's attention, or anything more from the man than a few dismissive words. None of Sasuke's family were perfect, not really, and though it took quite a lot of agonizing and soul-searching and forcing himself to face the actual memories rather than the idealized versions, Sasuke has come to accept that fact. Even if Itachi... Breathe. Sasuke reminds himself, coming to a halt on the rooftop overlooking an apartment building's entrance. Think. Naruto is here. He's up to something he doesn't want anyone to know about. Or he's hiding from someone. Not Uzushio, because no one would fake that much attachment to a place just for cover. So he's hiding from someone who's probably in Konoha. It's not a joke or prank. Not with so much effort put into the disguise, the act, the careful distance, the claims of being old enough to know Kakashi's father. Even if Uzushio is, as Sakura so helpfully informed him during their binge, nicknamed the Village of Longevity, that's still a fairly outlandish claim to make, and Sasuke files it away for future consideration. Right now, the matter at hand is whoever Naruto is so wary of. And this is Naruto, who charged the Demon Brothers without hesitation, who faced down Momichi Zabuza on their first mission out of the village, who has always been reckless beyond any boundaries of sense. And how much of a threat they likely are to him. Of Konoha now or not, Sasuke is not about to let any harm come to Naruto, not unless Sasuke is the one doing the harm. And he's still divided on whether punching or kissing the moron is more appealing. Possibly, he's hiding his identity because the people of Konoha are still pretty much collectively brain-dead idiots, and he's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, but Sasuke doesn't think so. After all, Naruto has never pandered to them and their prejudices before. His years away aren't likely to have given him reason to, especially not if he's been living in a village with 4 other Jinchuriki. It's equally unlikely that it's a personal threat, because Sasuke knows Naruto. That would just send him out into the open somewhere between epic showdown, convenient distraction, and playing bait. What he doesn't know is Uzushio's political climate, its history in any sort of detail, and possible threats against it. So, that's back to square one again then. Sasuke restrains a frustrated huff and rakes a hand through his hair. Well, at least he knows what questions he's going to ask when he decides to confront or corner Naruto. A flash of color from below draws Sasuke's attention, and he makes a chakra-assisted bound from the roof to land lightly in front of his former Genin teammate. Sakura, he says, rising to his feet and fixing her with his best approximation of Ino's killer puppy eyes. Not that he expects it to work, honestly. Reactions to that expression on his face vary from laughter, Ino, to horror, Jiraiya, to deadpan disbelief, Shikamaru, and that was an accident. Sasuke totally did not mean to give him that look no matter what Ino implies. Are you free? I need a favor. Unlike in their Genin days, when she would have fallen over herself to agree, or possibly used it as leverage to get a date, because Sakura has always been unexpectedly devious. Sakura looks entirely unimpressed. She gives him a flat, crossing her arms over her chest and arching one politely incredulous brow, in a manner most definitely learned from her teacher. Really? She says blandly. That's definitely not her encouraging tone of voice. Nevertheless, Sasuke is a shinobi of Konoha and doesn't back down even in the face of slim to none odds. He nods and forges on. Can you cover my shift at the mission assignment desk? I need to do some digging. A week ago, Sakura would have refused out of hand, writing it off as another display of Sasuke's obsession with finding Naruto. Now, with the truth of Uzushio undeniable and a solid lead in the form of its ambassador, and gods, but Sasuke looks back on his conversation with Naruto in the marketplace and just wants to laugh because, honestly, she gives him a carefully considering look and then narrows her eyes. Sasuke, she says warningly, is this like that time with the brothel in Hot Springs Country? No, Sasuke bites out, horrified by the very implication. And why would you even bring that up? I thought we agreed never to... Decreed is the word you're looking for, Sasuke. You decreed that we were never going to talk about that again, and I distinctly remember not agreeing at any point in the conversation. That's not the point. It is a totally real and valid point. If I'm going to have to bail you out yet again, Sasuke, Neji would not look at me without snickering for 3 months. Ice Prince Neji. Do you know how absolutely humiliating that is? I swear Kiba still snickers whenever anyone so much as mentions beeswax. And if I'm going to be permanently, mentally scarred from this digging you're doing, I think it's absolutely fair that I know beforehand so I can brace myself. So maybe there's a reason Sakura, more than any of the Konoha 12, is tired of Sasuke's endless searching for Naruto. Sasuke crosses his arms, not defensively, and meets her stare as evenly as he's able while still preparing himself to dodge any incoming blows. Sakura has her hands on her hips and an expression promising divine retribution should he attempt to give her anything less than the full truth. In village, he promises, because he's fairly certain Naruto isn't going anywhere outside of it, not with Haku gone. It's just information gathering. That's what you said about the time with the mistress of the bird country daimyo, Sakura mutters, but Sasuke pretends momentarily deafness in her direction. It's generally a fairly effective tactic. Ino is the other Jonin on shift, he offers in a last-ditch attempt at persuasion. Sakura holds out for another 7 seconds before she gives in with a huff and a sharp roll of her eyes. Great, she mutters. Awesome. We can complain about you and your lack of life and social skills together. Sasuke winces, but, well, that's more or less what he expected. If ever he missed their mindless fangirl devotion. But then Sakura steps forward, wraps her knuckles lightly against the side of his head with a fun smile, and mutters, well, get going, jerk. And Sasuke remembers exactly why he doesn't. Because as they are now, yeah, it's pretty much perfect, no matter how much he might complain. With a sharp to cover up whatever mushiness might be showing on his face, Sasuke jerks away, spins around, and leaps for the roofs again, ignoring his friend's laughter rising behind him as he goes. Tsunade watches the children play in the park, leaning against the wide windows of her office, with her head tipped to rest against the cool smoothness of the glass. There's a group playing tag, and another huddled around a familiar figure in a chain vest. Sarutobi Konohamaru and his usual gaggle of devoted followers, and Tsunade can help but smile at the sight. Recalling her trip back to Konoha with Naruto and his bright smile and his boasts about how he'd taken on a minion who called him boss. In the last near 7 years, Konohamaru has carried on his legacy, pranks and all. Although Tsunade suspects, given her Anbu's eternal aggravation at their failure to catch the culprit, Konohamaru isn't the only one making mischief. Not that she's going to say anything about that. It's always good to keep them on their toes. Tsunade loves Konoha, loves it dearly, even as she resents it fiercely. It's a home. It's her home. But it's also a reminder of every loss she's ever suffered, from her parents to Nawaki, right up to Naruto, just when she finally had hope of her curse being broken. And maybe Naruto isn't dead, maybe he's simply gone, the way Sasuke so fervently believes. But Tsunade misses him. Misses the little boy who mastered the Rasengan in a handful of days, mastered it and went beyond that until he could meet Orochimaru in a fight and give even the Snake Sage pause. Misses his optimism and his smile and the way he looked at her, the way Nawaki did, the way she's sure her and Dan's children would have, had they ever been given the chance to have any. And for all her professed cynicism and attempts to be entirely realistic, Tsunade can't help but imagine Naruto is somewhere kind right now. Somewhere that they love him, appreciate him the way none of Konoha's people never managed beyond a sparse handful. She imagines a family for him, friends, a home, and it makes her smile to think of it. It's good. A sharp rap on the door pulls her from her thoughts, and she glances up with a curious, "Enter." It's already getting late, the sun descending behind the thick blanket of clouds, and she knows there are no more meetings scheduled. She doesn't even have any paperwork left, thanks in part to Shizune helping her blaze through the last few stacks. They're both ready for a night off, after all. There's a pause, a hesitation, and then Jiraiya steps through the door. That alone makes Tsunade arch her brow and push away from the glass because she can't remember the last time Jiraiya actually used a door rather than the window. He looks tired too, exhausted, but also tense. Nerves humming with tension as he strides over to the desk, his geta clacking loudly in the silent room. No bruises that she can see, no shortened movements that speak of pain, but... Jiraiya? She asks, and her voice is Hokage sharp, because it's clear this is her top jonin, her spy master, rather than her teammate and childhood friend. Jiraiya gives her a faint, wan smile, but doesn't relax, doesn't unbend, even though he'd usually be sprawled all over the chair by now. "Tsunade," he returns, "I'm going to be out of the village for a few days. They're coming up on Konoha's first hosting of the Chunin exams since the disastrous attempted invasion 7 years ago. Konoha is strong, true, but so are the other nations, and with the world's current lack of outright warfare, all the stops are going to be pulled for this event. It's a mostly harmless way to work out some rivalries, after all, and a perfect platform for Kage grandstanding. Tsunade needs all of her jonin present, and is just opening her mouth to remind Jiraiya of this when he raises a hand to stop her, shaking his head. "It's about Akatsuki," he says, and she stays silent. "This morning I met with the contact who managed to infiltrate their base. With his information, there's enough to make a first move, and since their attention will be elsewhere at the moment, I need to take the chance." With a soft sigh, Tsunade returns to her chair, sinking into the comfortable but not comfortable enough seat, and giving Jiraiya her full attention as she steeples her fingers in front of her. "It's not that simple," she objects. "Jiraiya, we're pushed to the edge of our manpower as it is. Between preparing for the exams and running routine missions, I can't afford to send another jonin with you, and it would be a death sentence to ask a chunin to go, even one of the elites. And you're not going alone. That's suicide." It is not surprising that Jiraiya doesn't even look fazed. She's known him since they were both brats, and Jiraiya has never ever been accommodating to the idea of backup. He just waves a hand, brushing off the notion and offering her a grin that shouldn't be nearly as carefree as it is. "Not to worry, Hime. My informant's coming with me." As a shinobi, as a Kage, Tsunade knows very well what type of people usually end up selling information. Especially valuable, sensitive, dangerous information like this to the hidden villages, and they're generally either desperate for money or angling for something. On top of that, there are always even odds that such information is wrong or deliberately false or being supplied by the subject to maneuver Konoha into a trap. But no matter how well Tsunade knows this, Jiraiya knows it even more, and she can see the determination written into every line of his features. She wonders sometimes how her life would be different if Jiraiya had only a normal amount of stubbornness rather than the unearthly amount he's apparently been gifted with. "Do you trust them?" Tsunade asks evenly, and that's the million-real question, isn't it? is also one that in the shinobi world can rarely be answered with yes. Jiraiya, you're going to be taking on the Akatsuki. Do you trust this informant to have your back even in that situation? Jiraiya pauses, turning the matter over in his mind. Part of Tsunade is glad that he's thinking it over, but another part is deeply worried that he isn't able to answer immediately. At length, Jiraiya smiles, just faintly and with something held back, but he smiles. It's warm and happy and enthusiastic, and Tsunade hasn't seen its like in years. Not since Naruto completed and perfected the Rasengan and then vanished. Yeah, he says, meeting her eyes squarely. I can trust him. And besides, I wouldn't want anyone else on this mission, Hime. Stealth is going to get us a lot further here than busting down the front door. Even I'm not reckless enough to go after the entire organization head on. We'll slip in through a side door he knows while they're all in the base, take out as many as we can before they raise the alarm, and then get out of there before they can retaliate. These are all S-class nin, but together and with enough planning, I think we can outmaneuver them. An informant who has been inside the Akatsuki headquarters, who is powerful enough that Jiraiya feels confident going after 8 impassibly strong and ruthless shinobi with him, whom Jiraiya trusts but not blindly, whose name he won't tell her. Really, there aren't many people that could be, and Tsunade bites her lip in tightly contained worry. But for all of Orochimaru's evil, despite everything he's done, Tsunade can still read him. Their encounter 7 years ago, when he offered to bring Dan and Nawaki back, that was honest. And in him, Tsunade had seen something of the young boy, terrified and furious in the face of loss, who wanted to make everyone around him immortal so that he'd never have to go through such a thing again. People, herself included, always forget that underneath the monster, there's a man. A shinobi who fought in 2 wars and was once one of Konoha's greatest weapons. They treated him like it too, treated all of the Sannin like that. And though Tsunade had Dan to distract her, though Jiraiya had the Ame orphans and then Minato's team, Orochimaru, so very distant and reserved, so smart that he was on an entirely different level. Orochimaru had no one. Partly by his own choice, certainly, but also because he was terrifying and cold and so closely affiliated with his snakes that no one wanted to get close. And so no one did. She hates him, yes. He killed Sarutobi and tried to destroy Konoha. He experimented on people and killed innocents and tried to play God. But she loves him too. Loves the boy he was and the man he became, the friend and confidant and surrogate brother she lost so long ago. But perhaps he's not lost entirely, or at least not anymore. There's a part of Tsunade, the wild, reckless, headstrong part that let her survive on a team with 2 of the greatest shinobi Konoha ever produced. Let her survive and thrive and come into her own beside them. That wants to stand up and leave with Jiraiya, head off to wherever the Akatsuki are hiding, positioned firmly between Jiraiya and Orochimaru, just the way she's supposed to be. To leave all of her responsibilities and duties and the low-level ache that Konoha brings with it, and just go! Reforge her team, her family, from the ashes it's long since become. Surely, in the face of the 3 Sannin, not even Akatsuki will stand a chance. Surely, together, like they always were meant to be, there's not a single obstacle that can stand before them. She's the Hokage, though. Her face is carved into the mountain, looking down on the village that's hers to protect, and if she's ever been anything, Tsunade is loyal. All her life, she's been loyal to her ideals, peace and justice and salvation, even if she has to fight and kill for them. For 30 years, she's been loyal to Dan's memory, to the love they shared. For 7 years, she's been loyal to her village as only its figurehead can be, and she can't abandon that. Moreover, Shizune and Sakura would probably hunt her down and drag her back by her hair, with a soft, resigned, partially amused huff. Tsunade rifles through a cabinet for a mission form, fills out the necessary details entirely by rote, and passes it off to Jiraiya. But when he tries to take it, she grips it tighter and makes him look at her squarely. Just be safe, she pleads. Both of you. Surprise flits over his lined face for a brief moment before it settles into a warm, affectionate understanding. Of course, he answers with a grin. We'll be back before you know it, Hime. It's what he used to say, back when they were children. He and Orochimaru both fielding her worry with smiles and easy promises, coming home 1,000 shades of battered, but still going out again before they even healed entirely, really, and people wonder why she's such a good medic. It's solely because she had such excessive amounts of practice growing up. With a sigh, Tsunade relinquishes the paper, watching Jiraiya scribble out the rest of the information, and then accepts it back and files it away. Good luck, she says, trying for a smile of her own. It's out of practice, this particular shade of worry but hopeful and mostly resigned. The same way she's out of practice of thinking of Jiraiya and Orochimaru the way they used to be. Brawn and brains, brashness and cunning, a team rather than mortal enemies. Jiraiya tosses her a salute and a cheeky wink before he's gone again, striding back out the doors and away into the quickly fading light.